My brother borrowed my truck for a quick errand. 3 weeks later, it's impounded with $8,000 in parking tickets and damage. When I confronted him, Dad said, "Boys will be boys. Just pay it and move on." I paid it. Then I pressed charges. Now he's got a court date. The officer slid the impound invoice across the counter like it was a death certificate. Total comes to $8,217. I stared at the number, read it 3 times. Still didn't make sense. For what? Parking tickets, 47 of them across King County. Towing fee, 3 weeks storage at $60 per day, plus the damage assessment surcharge. She tapped a line item with her pen. "You're lucky we found it when we did. Another week and you'd be over 10 grand. My truck, my 2019 Ford F-150, paid off 6 months ago after 5 years of payments, sitting in an impound lot with $8,000 in fees, because I'd handed my keys to my brother 3 weeks ago. For just an hour, Kyle had shown up at my apartment on a Tuesday evening, 6:34 p.m., right as I was making dinner. Knocked on the door with that familiar rhythm. 3 quick raps, pause, 2 more. I'd opened it to find him in his usual uniform, faded Seahawks hoodie, ripped jeans, Vans that had seen better days. "Hey man, huge favor." He'd given me that smile, the one that had gotten him out of trouble our entire lives. "Can I borrow your truck? Just for like an hour," helping a buddy move some furniture across town. His van died. I'd hesitated. Kyle and I weren't close anymore. Hadn't been since he'd borrowed $300 2 years ago to invest, and I'd never seen it again. Since he'd crashed on my couch for just a few days, that turned into 6 weeks. Since he'd asked to use my Netflix password and somehow racked up charges on my credit card that was linked to the account. But he was my brother, and it was just a truck for an hour. "Back by tonight?" I'd ask. "Promise. Scout's honor." He'd held up 3 fingers. Neither of us had ever been scouts. I'd grabbed my keys from the hook by the door, tossed them to him. "There's a quarter tank. Fill it up before you bring it back." "Absolutely. You're a lifesaver, bro." He'd left. I'd gone back to my stir-fry. That was 3 weeks ago. Day 4, I'd called him. Straight to voicemail. "Hey, it's Kyle. You know what to do." "Dude, where's my truck? Call me back." No response. Day 7, I'd texted. "Need the truck back. Got errands to run." 3 hours later, phone's acting up. "Have it a few more days." All good. Not all good. But what was I supposed to do? Drive to his apartment without a vehicle? Take an Uber across town to yell at him? I'd let it go. Told myself he'd bring it back. Day 10, I'd taken the bus to his apartment in Northgate. Knocked on his door for 5 minutes. No answer. His neighbor, older woman with 2 cats and a Mariners jersey, had poked her head out. "If you're looking for Kyle, he hasn't been here in over a week. Left in a truck. Silver Ford. Hasn't come back. My truck. My silver Ford F-150. Gone for over a week. You know where he went?" She'd shrugged. "Kid comes and goes. Never stays long." Day 14, I'd filed a police report. Sat in the precinct waiting room for 40 minutes before Officer Janet Reyes called me back. Mid-30s, dark hair pulled back, sharp eyes that had seen every excuse. "So your brother borrowed your truck and didn't return it? 3 weeks ago. Won't answer calls. Not at his apartment. I want to report it stolen." She'd taken notes. "And you have proof you own the vehicle?" I'd showed her my registration, my insurance, my title. "And you gave him permission to use it?" "For an hour, not 3 weeks." She'd nodded slowly. "Here's the thing. When you voluntarily give someone your keys, it complicates the theft angle. He can claim he had permission. I didn't give him permission to keep it. I understand. But legally, it's murky. Let me file this as unauthorized use of a vehicle. If we locate the truck, we'll contact you immediately." I'd left the station feeling hollow, like I'd just learned the rules were written to screw over people who trusted their family. Day 21, my phone rang. Unknown number. "This is Marcus Chen." "Mr. Chen, this is Everett Impound Services. We have your vehicle. A 2019 Ford F-150, silver license plate BHC 7739. You need to come get it." My stomach dropped. "Where was it?" "Towed from a street in Georgetown. Expired meter. When we ran the plates, we found 46 additional unpaid parking citations across King County." 46? 47 total. "You'll need to pay all outstanding tickets plus towing and storage fees before we can release the vehicle." "How much?" "I'll have the exact total when you arrive, but you're looking at significant charges." Significant. That word haunted me on the bus ride to the impound lot, through security check-in, to the counter where Officer Hernandez had slid that invoice toward me. $8,217. I'd walked through the lot to see my truck. Row D, space 47, and there it was. My beautiful, reliable, paid-off Ford F-150, front bumper hanging off, held by one bolt. Passenger door crunched inward like someone had sideswiped a pole. Windshield cracked in a spiderweb pattern from the lower right corner. The smell of stale cigarettes and fast food wafted out when I opened the door. Inside was worse. Fast food wrappers everywhere. McDonald's, Taco Bell, Jimmy John's, empty energy drink cans, cigarette ash ground into my seats, a parking ticket wedged under the visor, another on the passenger floor, 3 more in the glove box. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone. Called Kyle. This time, he answered. "Yo, what's up? Where the hell have you been?" "Busy, man. Working. What's going on?" "My truck is impounded. $8,000 in parking tickets. Front end's destroyed. What did you do?" Silence. Not the silence of someone who didn't hear. The silence of someone calculating their next lie. "Kyle, answer me. Look, some stuff came up." "Stuff?" My voice rose. The impound lot attendant glanced over. I turned away. You racked up 47 parking tickets? I was using it for work. DoorDash, Uber Eats, making deliveries. Actually made pretty good money. The casualness in his voice made my vision blur. You were using my truck as a delivery vehicle? Yeah, man, needed the cash. You weren't using it. Because you had it. Right, but like, you work from home mostly. You don't need a truck every day. I couldn't breathe. Actually couldn't get air into my lungs. And the damage? I managed. The smashed bumper? The door? The windshield? Oh yeah, little fender bender. No big deal. No big deal? You totaled my front end. It's not totaled. Still drives fine. Just needs some body work. Kyle, you've had my truck for 3 weeks. You ignored my calls. You racked up 8,000 in tickets. And now I'm standing here looking at thousands more in repairs. So pay it and fix the truck. You've got the money. The words hit me like a physical blow. Excuse me? You make good money. Software engineer, right? 6 figures. I'm barely scraping by with gig work. Just handle it. I'll pay you back eventually. My blood went cold. Actually cold. Like someone had injected ice water into my veins. You're kidding. I'm serious. I don't have 8 grand lying around. You do. Just get it out of impound, fix it, and I'll pay you back when I can. When you can? Yeah, when things pick up. Few months maybe. I hung up, stood there in the impound lot, surrounded by abandoned vehicles and broken dreams, and paid $8,217 on my credit card. Got my truck out, drove it carefully because the alignment was shot and the bumper dragged every time I hit a bump, straight to Morrison's auto body on Aurora. Dave Morrison, the owner, had done work on my car before. Honest guy, fair prices. Gave it to you straight. He'd walked around my truck 3 times, crouched by the bumper, examined the door, checked the windshield. What happened? Long story. How bad? He'd pulled out his tablet, started taking notes and photos. 20 minutes later, he'd handed me a preliminary estimate. $6,350. That's parts and labor. Bumper needs full replacement. Door has frame damage. Can't just pop it out. Windshield straightforward, but everything else? He'd shaken his head. You get in an accident? My brother did, while he was borrowing it. Dave had winced. Family, huh? Yeah. His insurance covering it? He doesn't have insurance. And I gave him permission to drive it, so mine won't cover it either. Called them on the way here. Damn. Dave had clapped my shoulder. I'll do what I can on the price. Give me a few days to get parts quotes. But you're looking at $6 grand minimum. $14,567 total. For letting my brother borrow my truck for just an hour. That night, I'd driven my broken truck to my parents' house in Ballard. Pulled into the driveway at 7:23 p.m. My truck sounded like a dying lawnmower. Mom opened the door. Marcus, what happened to your truck? Kyle happened. Dad was in the living room, watching the Mariners game, beer in hand. Kyle was on the couch, arms crossed, looking at his phone, like nothing was wrong. Kyle destroyed my truck, I said. No preamble, no build-up. $14,000 total. He needs to pay me back. Dad muted the TV. What are you talking about? He borrowed my truck 3 weeks ago, kept it, used it for delivery work, racked up 47 parking tickets, crashed it, $8,000 in impound fees, $6,000 in repairs, $14,000 total. Dad waved his hand. Come on, it's not that serious. The room tilted. Not serious? It's a truck. These things happen. These things happen? I looked at Kyle. He was still on his phone, not even looking up. He kept it for 3 weeks. Wouldn't answer calls. Destroyed it. Then told me to just pay for everything because I make more money than him. Dad set down his beer. Marcus, he's your brother. Family helps family. I did help. I lent him my truck. He destroyed it. Kyle finally looked up. I told you I'd pay you back. When? He shrugged. When I have it. And when will that be? You're doing DoorDash. Making what? $200 a day? $300 on a good day? At that rate, you'll pay me back in 3 years. So I'll pay you back in 3 years. What's the problem? My hands clenched into fists. Dad stood up. All right, that's enough. Marcus, you're being dramatic. Boys will be boys. These things happen. Just pay for the repairs and move on. I stared at him. At my father, the man who'd taught me to work hard, save money, be responsible, who was now telling me to eat $14,000 because Kyle was irresponsible. You're serious. I'm serious. You've got the money. Kyle's going through a rough patch. Be a good brother. A rough patch? My voice rose. He's been going through a rough patch for 10 years. Every time he screws up, I'm supposed to just fix it, pay for it, make it go away? That's what family does. Kyle smirked. Actually smirked at me, like he'd won. You know what? I walked toward the door. Fine, I'll handle it. Dad nodded. Good man. Yeah, I'm a great man. I left, drove my broken truck back to my apartment, and at 9:47 p.m., I walked into the North Precinct Police Station. Officer Reyes was still on duty. Mr. Chen, you find your truck? I did. It was impounded. My brother destroyed it and racked up thousands in damages and fees. He refuses to pay. I want to press charges. She'd pulled up my file. When we talked before, you said he had permission to use it. For an hour, not 3 weeks. I have text messages showing I asked for it back multiple times. He refused. I have the impound records showing 47 parking tickets he accumulated. I have repair estimates. He kept my vehicle without permission, used it commercially without authorization, and caused significant damage. Officer Reyes had typed for a long time. Okay, based on the dollar amount and the duration, we can file this as unauthorized use of a vehicle. Possibly felony theft depending on how the DA's office views it. You understand this means your brother will be arrested and charged? Yes. And you're certain you want to proceed? This isn't something you can take back once we file. I'd thought about Kyle, about every time I'd bailed him out, about Dad telling me to just pay and move on, about that smirk. I'm certain she'd taken my full statement, copied the text messages, collected the impound invoice, the repair estimate, photos of the damage. We'll submit this to the prosecutor's office. Your brother will receive a summons to appear in court. Given the amount, over $14,000, they'll likely charge him with second-degree theft, Class C felony. He's looking at up to 5 years and $10,000 in fines if convicted. Good. I'd signed the complaint, filed the charges, left the station at 11:18 p.m., felt lighter than I had in 3 weeks. 2 weeks later, Kyle called me. 11:34 a.m. on a Thursday. I was working from home. Video call with my team in 10 minutes. I almost didn't answer, but I wanted to hear this. You pressed charges? He was screaming. Are you insane? Are you actually insane? No, I'm done being your ATM. I'm your brother. You're a thief. I borrowed the truck for 3 weeks without permission, refusing to return it when I asked, then demanding I pay for the damage you caused. That's theft, Kyle. That's what you did. Dad said you'd let it go. He said you'd pay for it and we'd move on. Dad was wrong. I've got a court date now for a felony. Do you understand what this means for my life? Do you understand what you did to my truck, my finances, my trust? It's a truck. It's just a truck. Then you should have no problem paying for it. But you don't want to pay. You want me to pay because you've spent your entire adult life making other people clean up your messes. This is different. This is criminal charges. I could go to prison. Then you should have thought about that before you stole my truck. Silence. Then, you're really doing this. You're actually going to testify against me. Yes. Dad's going to disown you. Dad can do whatever he wants. The whole family thinks you're insane. The whole family enables you. They always have. Maybe it's time someone didn't. He hung up. 30 seconds later, Dad called. I let it go to voicemail. Listened to it after my meeting. Marcus, what the hell is wrong with you? You pressed charges against your own brother over a truck? He made a mistake. He's young. He's learning. And you're going to ruin his life over this? Call me back. We need to talk about this. This is family. You don't do this to family. I deleted it. Mom called next. 1:47 p.m. I answered. Marcus, honey, what's going on? Your father is beside himself. Kyle's crying. He says you're trying to send him to prison. I'm not trying to send him anywhere. I filed charges for theft. The prosecutor decides what happens next. But he's your brother, and he stole my truck, used it for 3 weeks, destroyed it, refused to pay. Dad told me to just pay for it myself because Kyle's going through a rough patch, so I paid for it. $8,000 to get it out of impound, $6,000 for repairs, and then I pressed charges because that's what you do when someone steals from you. He didn't steal, Mom. He took my truck, kept it for 3 weeks despite me asking for it back, used it commercially without permission, caused significant damage, and then told me to pay for everything because I make more money than him. That's theft. The police agree. The prosecutor agrees. But can't you just drop the charges? Work this out as a family? I could, but I won't. Marcus, Mom, I love you, but Kyle's been doing this his entire life, borrowing money he doesn't pay back, crashing on my couch, using my Netflix and somehow charging my credit card, and every time the family tells me to let it go. Be a good brother. He's going through a rough patch. Well, I'm done. I'm done being the family ATM. I'm done cleaning up his messes. I'm done pretending it's okay that he takes and never gives back. Silence. Your father is very disappointed in you. Yeah, I figured. She hung up. That night, the family group chat exploded. My phone buzzed 47 times in an hour. Messages from aunts, uncles, cousins. Family doesn't press charges on family. You're tearing this family apart. Kyle made a mistake. He doesn't deserve prison. What happened to forgiveness? You've always been so cold, Marcus. So unforgiving. Dad said you're being dramatic. Just drop the charges. Think about your mother. This is killing her. I read them all. Every single one. Then, I muted the chat. Posted one message first. Kyle stole my truck for 3 weeks. Destroyed it. Racked up $14,000 in damages and told me to pay for it because I make more money. I filed charges. The prosecutor is handling it. If you have a problem with that, take it up with Kyle for stealing. I'm done being punished for setting boundaries. Then, muted. The preliminary hearing was set for 6 weeks later. King County Superior Court, Department 7, Judge Patricia Kwan, presiding. I'd arrived at 8:30 a.m. with my lawyer, Rachel Winters, sharp, mid-40s, 15 years as a prosecutor before going private. She'd reviewed my case and said, this is straightforward. You have documentation, text messages, impound records, repair estimates. The defendant admitted on the phone he was using your vehicle commercially. We'll get a conviction or a plea deal. Kyle showed up at 8:55 a.m. with a public defender, saw me in the hallway, looked away. Dad was with him, glared at me, didn't speak. Mom wasn't there. The hearing lasted 20 minutes. The prosecutor, Assistant DA Jennifer Park, presented the evidence, text messages, impound invoice, repair estimates, my testimony, the police report. Kyle's public defender argued it was a misunderstanding, a family dispute. Kyle had permission to use the vehicle. Judge Kwan had cut him off. He had permission for 1 hour, not 3 weeks. The text messages clearly show the owner requesting the vehicle's return multiple times. The defendant ignored those requests. The financial damage exceeds $14,000. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is theft. She'd set a trial date, 3 months out. But then the public defender asked for a recess, spoke to Kyle, spoke to Dad, came back and requested a plea negotiation negotiation. We'd reconvened in the prosecutor's office. Kyle sat across from me, wouldn't meet my eyes. D.A. Park laid out the offer. Plead guilty to second-degree theft. Restitution in full. $14,567 paid within 18 months. 200 hours community service. 3 years probation. No jail time if you comply with all terms. If you violate probation or fail to pay restitution, you'll serve 18 months. Kyle's public defender whispered to him. Kyle nodded. My client accepts. Just like that. Over. Rachel leaned over. You want to say anything? I looked at Kyle, at my brother, who'd stolen my truck, destroyed it, and told me to pay for it, who was now agreeing to pay me back under court order because he'd had no choice. Yeah, I said. I want to say something. Everyone looked at me. Kyle, when you asked to borrow my truck, I trusted you. When you kept it for 3 weeks, I gave you the benefit of the doubt. When you destroyed it and told me to just pay for it because I make more money, I realized you've never respected me. You've never respected my boundaries, my money, my property. You've spent your whole life taking from me and from this family, and everyone just let you because you're the baby, because you're going through a rough patch, because boys will be boys. Kyle's jaw clenched. But I'm done. I'm done being your safety net, your ATM, your cleanup crew. You're 28 years old. It's time to face consequences. I stood up. You're going to pay back every cent. You're going to do your community service. And maybe you'll learn that actions have consequences, that you can't just take what you want and expect someone else to fix it. I looked at Dad. He looked away. I walked out. 3 months later, I got the first restitution payment, $809. Automatic withdrawal from Kyle's bank account. Court ordered. 18 more to go. The family stopped inviting me to gatherings. Mom called occasionally, asking how I was, never mentioning Kyle. Dad didn't call at all. Kyle moved back in with our parents. His apartment had been too expensive without a reliable vehicle. I'd heard through Mom he'd gotten a warehouse job. Night shift, steady pay. Had to be steady. The court was watching. My truck was fixed. Looked brand new. Drove perfectly. I'd gotten a steering wheel lock, a kill switch, a GPS tracker. Never lending it to anyone again. 6 months after the hearing, I ran into Kyle at Safeway. He was in the produce section. Looked thinner, tired. Saw me and froze. I nodded. He nodded back. We didn't speak. I got my groceries and left. That night, Mom called. Kyle's doing better, she said quietly. The job is hard, but he's keeping it, making payments, doing his community service on weekends. Good. He asked me to tell you he's sorry. He didn't know how to say it to your face. I thought about that, about Kyle's smirk in our parents' living room, about Dad telling me to just pay and move on, about $14,000. Tell him thanks, but sorry doesn't undo what he did. The court-ordered restitution does. Marcus, he's your brother. I know, Mom. That's why it hurts so much. She was quiet for a long time. Your father misses you. He knows where to find me. He's stubborn. So am I. Another long silence. I'm proud of you, Marcus, for standing up for yourself, even if it cost you your family. It didn't cost me my family. It cost me people who wanted me to accept being stolen from. That's a good way to put it, she said softly. We talked for another hour, about work, about her book club, about the neighbor's new dog, not about Kyle, not about Dad, just normal things. When we hung up, I sat on my couch in my apartment, looked at my truck keys on the hook by the door, thought about trust, about boundaries, about the cost of saying no to family. Kyle had borrowed my truck for just an hour. 3 weeks later, it was destroyed, and I was out $14,000. Dad had told me to pay it and move on, so I'd paid it. Then I'd pressed charges, because sometimes the people who tell you to let it go and be a good brother are the same people who taught your sibling they could take whatever they wanted without consequences. And sometimes being a good brother means teaching the lesson everyone else was too afraid to teach. Kyle asked me for a favor. I gave him my keys. He gave me a $14,000 lesson in why trust has limits. And I gave him a court-ordered education in why theft has consequences, even when it's family, especially when it's family.